Okay, I guess I'll do a little update for today. This is my I had a dog. He's still here. We have many animals, and I reupholstered that. The bottom of that couch, I bought reupholstery for it, and that was previous. So I said, that's him there. So anyway, it's Sunday. Of course, I got some writing I need to do. I did a teaching today. But I knew that I got word, the dog tore up the house again. We have many animals, many dogs, and things that people do in life. Some people say, well, I've had advice. I just left my daughter's and did the Sunday teaching, and I got a lot of notes I have to write. The one you saw me post today was from last Sunday, but I write those things throughout the week, I had a friend that passed away I did not know. I saw it earlier on Facebook. His name was Frank Edwin. Frank was the older brother of my friend Fred, who I grew up with. Fred. We were, good friends, still are. And I had a missed call the other day. I never get my phone. People that know me, I never answer my phone. But it was from Fred. I still had his number in my phone. I said, oh, that's strange. I got a missed call from Fred. It was the day his brother passed away. And Fred, we were very good friends when we were young, and still are friends. But when I started going back to New Jersey every year, I reconnected with his older brother, Frank, because Frank was somewhat homeless for some time in his life, and somehow I reconnected. He had an apartment at that time, moved somewhere else. So we have been friends on Facebook, and whenever I noticed if I posted videos of some of my homeless friends and like the things they go through, sometimes Frank Edwin, who passed away, would like it or share it or whatever. And so I guess he had his time where he had those things, and sadly he passed away. It's interesting, when I left my daughter's house, because I said, I'm going to have to go and set aside a separate 30 minutes or so to refix things. But it's kind of an ongoing thing. And so I had to schedule extra time. This video, I'll put it up. It's strange in this sense. Whenever, sometimes you're not even consciously thinking self-destructive thoughts. You don't think them. But as most of us know, that sometimes there are thoughts that come and you rebuke those thoughts. But I found it interesting because sometimes when things happen, something minor, but there's other things, you'll notice that people get thoughts that are like self-destructive. And of course, we as a society recognize that. But you'll pick up on that. And that's just something that you kind of notice in the progression of a person's life. Like, oh, I see this is a different thing that, not recent, but maybe it'll be a recurring theme, if you will. And that is something I noticed. I came home, I didn't speed, but I said, well, I got to set aside time, because this is now a huge part of my life, fixing furniture, that there's other reasons of things. But I stopped at a little corner store, and there was a lady there, and the other day I went to like 3 corner stores, because I just went to get a newspaper and cigarettes. And then there was a huge line. I said, I went to another one, the same thing. So I wound up spending more time because I went to 3. But just now, there was a lady, and you could see she was taking real long, an older lady. And I'll mention it. There's no reason I have to mention it. But behind her there was two. Now, when I say black brothers, I call everybody brothers, and sometimes I'll refer to black brothers like white brothers, not a racial way. But there were two black brothers right behind her. They weren't together, and I think one of them was buying beer, and the other was just getting a bottle of water. And she was in the front with getting 12 packs of soda. And I was waiting. I wasn't going to leave that store. And then you could see the lady probably needs some help. So the one black guy that was in the head of the line, right behind her, he said, "Do you need some help? I'll help you." And so he carried those 12 packs of soda. She couldn't have carried them. And then I thought the lady was going to ring up the next guy in front of me, but they were going to wait because he had to buy his water. So I didn't want to make it look like I cut in line, but I said, "Well, I'm going to get 2 packs of cigarettes." And being the other guy waited, and the lady at the register was willing to, check me out. I said, "Well, I'll get this. I'll buy this for him, his water." "Oh, really?" I said, yeah, because I kind of cut in front of this guy just now." And so then the black brother came back in, and I said, "Oh, I bought it for you, brother." He appreciated it. "Oh, really? God bless you, man." I said, "Well, I cut in front." So I just had to do this one as the little update that I do. I did a lot of teaching, which is fine, but I quoted a lot of scriptures. I'll upload this now because these are the daily things. And then I always try to link them to various, posts that are coming up. There are times, I think, obviously some of you know a lot of things upset me, but there are times when even if you work to get to a particular place, and then you see some, other things that happen in society, besides the politics that I talk about. I was just thinking the years, and this is not to any of my friends. I have a lot of friends. One of the realities of life that I've seen, a lot of people are on disability for various reasons. And this is not targeting any particular person. But I noticed over the years with a lot of the homeless and a lot of drug addiction, I noticed the majority is really, a lot of it is abused. Okay, a lot of that is abused, and just from seeing it. And then I hear the discussions that we have in the media about, I heard one the other day on PBS, and Mr. Trump is going to try to put some work requirements for people. And I listened to the debate. It was PBS. And the debate was somewhat from the liberal debate. It said, but the problem is these people can't work and all. And the reality is many of the guys that I've known have worked, some legally, meaning they could. But I looked at it and I said, there's too much disparity in society. And yes, there's a lot of enabling that goes on. There are legitimate cases of people have worked their whole lives. Over the years, I've seen these, and then they got into where taxes are coming up, and then they couldn't even pay like a tax, and they got evicted or whatever. They wound up losing, and some of these people worked their whole lives. I've met some friends on the street that worked their whole lives over the years, and then they wound up being homeless. And many of them had no aid whatsoever. I met a guy once with one arm. He was a trucker, and he lost his arm in a wreck, and then he had one arm. Nice guy, I forget his name. This is years ago. And I asked him, I said, well, don't you get any disability or anything? And he told me, I guess it was the truth. He said, no, he applied. It was in a truck wreck. He was 18-wheeler. He said, they told me I could still work with one arm. And then I thought, but I knew other friends of mine that, their whole lives, many years were on disability. And they were perfectly. One friend many years ago told me his disability, this is no one that you've seen on my videos, none of my friends that you see me with, but he kind of blurted out, his disability was he was unable to hold a job. He said, I can't help it if I can't keep a job because I got a temper problem. And he said that was his official disability. And then I looked at this other person who had one arm and was on the street. And I thought, yeah, this is a joke what they do. This is an absolute joke what they do. So this is just one for, I wanted to mention my friend Frank. I had another friend that passed away. I think I already mentioned him. His name was Travis. And so it's sad that some of my friends have passed away. I'm grateful for my friend Frank. I wrote a little note I just saw it on Facebook today. And I wrote a little note on Frank's page that I was grateful that I had reconnected with Frank Edwing after so many years. And these last 5 years or so. I actually have a picture. Oh, I was taking a lot of pictures. I have one of Frank. Because we were hanging out. I guess I'll show that. And I'm sure his brother doesn't realize I have a picture of Frank. It's the house. We were hanging out in Hackensack on one of my trips back and walking through Hackensack. And Frank walked in front of now that's like the main courthouse for that county, all right? And that was the courthouse in Hackensack. Now, if you could see it, I told Frank, I said, hey, Frank, walk in front. Me and Frank actually went to, that was me and Frank at a little church that had like a little mission. And he took me to that. And that was nice, the time we spent. So this would just be the one update. The only thing I'll encourage people is, in the journey, sometimes people think, well, these are simple various things, not aware of some of the other various things. But you want to make sure your time in your life, whatever God's called you to do, you want to maximize. There are a lot of scriptures on that. Redeem the time because the days are evil. You want to maximize your time. And just in general in life, if a lot of it is just cleaning up a mess, whether it's physically or spiritually or whatever, if a lot of it is cleaning up a mess, I remember I read the news a lot. I remember there was a case locally a few years ago, and it was a younger guy, maybe in his 20s, and he got picked up for a DUI, like it was multiple. I guess it was his third time or whatever. And then he hung himself in the local jail here. And I remember thinking, what happened? And it wasn't just, oh, he had a DUI. What must have played on him was whatever process he had to go through and did the probation, whatever else. And then he realized, I'm here again. That's probably what played on him. And I just kind of thought about that for a while. And if you're spending too much time, if you will, cleaning up the mess, then there comes a time where you say, am I being effective? Am I being effective? Or is most of my life just spent, if you will, cleaning up the mess, all right? I'm not just talking about that. That's just a little parable for us. You have a period of time, all these pictures I took on these strips, you have a period of time to fulfill what you're called to fulfill. And it's not when you arrive at a particular place and you say, okay, now I'm there. Look, a lot of people pass away even when they retire because I'm active, okay, I do a lot of stuff. But a lot of people I've noticed, like some friends maybe the last year, every now and then, they'll say, John, I think they're giving the hint like, you're not, but I'm busy. But they think that I'm maybe, but people do indeed die when they retire, a lot of them, because their psyche, their life, their physiology, it's connected to a purpose. A lot of them is what they did their whole lives. And then all of a sudden, they say, okay, we did it. I have, oh, this can be, it's not a crime really. This is an old, when I retired at the fire department, they had some old lamps that were there for 30 years, like people really didn't use them. They were just laying around from the time I got hired. This is actually one of the lampshades that was in one of those old lamps, so I'm going to take that. And then there was some poker chips. Now these must be, I don't know, 50-year-old poker chips, but they had an old little poker chips that, like, from 1980s before. I said, I'll take those few little reminders. And that's fine. I mean, it's no big. They're going to throw them out eventually. So that's the encouragement I'll give you. Don't spend, if you're spending too much time just cleaning up the mess, then you'll have to make some changes. Okay? And if there is a scenario where you invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of, and then you say, I'd hate to, lose what I have built up until a certain point, even if it's just something simple. And then you say, well, you do what you need to do. You do what you need to do, because the important thing is you don't want to spend your life just cleaning up the mess. You want to say, I'm going to finish whatever it is I'm supposed to do. So I'll encourage you with that. This is just like a little update, all right? God bless everybody.